So actually it's 8:01, so let's call the meeting to order. It's the May 14th, 2024 Regional Wastewater Reclamation Advisory Committee Capital Improvement Program Subcommittee. So would you like to do roll call?
All right, so the roll call, Anne Marie.
Here.
Asia.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Scott Oldendorf.
Here.
And Steve Foley.
Here.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so those of us joining virtually, which is pretty much all of us today, just to make sure we have a well-ordered virtual meeting, let's follow these guidelines. So please mute your microphones if you're not speaking. That way we won't have any feedback or background noise to interfere with whomever is speaking. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. And actually, after your question's been addressed, please lower your hand. Okay, when you are ready to speak, unmute your microphone, especially during votes. But don't forget to mute yourself when you're finished. Let's see. As a reminder, I don't think we have any audience right now, but audience members are only permitted to speak during call to audience unless called upon by the committee, and it's being recorded to satisfy open meeting laws. Okay. All right, so let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Just a moment, please. It's coming up. I gotta find it. I've got so many.
Looking close.
Can you see it?
Not yet. I can see meeting materials, so we're getting there.
Okay, hold on. There we go.
All right. So, all right, I pledge of allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America. To the republic.
One nation, under God.
One nation. Indivisible. Liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. So let's move to call to the audience. I don't think we have any audience today, do we? All right. Safety share. Who has the safety share? Come on, someone must have a safety share. I know Jackson always has some, but anyone else today?
This is
Scott, go ahead.
Even though we're having summer, we're also watching a person on a ladder directly behind Craig. So we always hope that they're using all the safety. But we hope they're using all their safety.
Yep.
Behind Craig. But even though it's summer, be careful. There are the occasional school buses and everything like that, and different driving habits during the summer. Just be careful. It's a different season, but we still have to be on our guard.
Yeah, and I can follow up on the ladder. Safety is very important. I actually make the employees at SERI take it because we climb ladders, and I had a friend fall off a ladder last week doing something she didn't really need to do, landed right on her hip and broke it, and they had to have it replaced. So ladder safety, make sure someone's holding the bottom, be careful. So very timely having that ladder behind you, Craig. Okay, thank you, Scott. All right. Okay, approval of minutes. We've got the meeting minutes for January 23rd, 2024. So any discussion, any changes on those or discussion? Everybody get a chance to take a look at them? Mm-hmm. Any comments?
I move we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, I've got a motion. Is there a second for that? So who made the second? I didn't hear it.
Asia, was that you seconding the motion?
I will second the motion.
Okay. All right. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes for January 23rd, 2024? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, approved is written. All right, let's move on to discussion and action. So Jaime, you're up first, the review of the fiscal year 2024-2025 5-year CIP plan. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen real quick here. Can you all see that spreadsheet?
I can see it, but I can't really, well, if I get close, I can read it, but.
And zoom in, hold on. That better? You can see it better?
Looks good, Jaime.
All right, so not much change since the last time we met and discussed. There's always a little bit of variance up and down the fiscal years as project progresses, or they get either accelerated or delayed. So there's a little variance here, but the projects themselves have not changed where they stand on the 5-year program. The very top are projects under construction. We have the very first one, number 1 here on column 8, is side stream Anita process that is under design by the Kiwi design build team. I believe they're close to about 30%, and they're working on their cost model to see where the budget stands on that project. The second one is the Continental Ranch Pump Station second force main that is wrapping up this year. They're basically finished with the pipeline construction, and they're just kind of putting the final touches on the loop, putting it back where they had to tear it down to install the pipeline and doing those type of details. But the construction itself of the force main is completed, and we're aiming for the end of the fiscal year to basically close this project out. The third project in the first group is the Canoa Ranch sewer extension. Here on this one, we had a very high estimate on the alignment cost for the very west side of the I-19 alignment. It was way over budget. We couldn't afford it. So the design team met with ADA, and they discussed placing the sewer line between the frontage road on the west side of I-19 and the I-19 proper highway, in that kind of median between those two roadways. That seems to be a path that ADA is willing to work with us on, and if that's the case and everything works out well, that may be an economical location for us to place that sewer line, and it may still go forward. So that's where we're at right now on this with discussions with ADA. The fourth one is the Tres Rios Headworks Biofilter Auto Control. That project is operational, and it's being delayed on the closeout because we're having delivery problems with one of the electrical pieces of equipment. Where they were able to wire everything up temporarily to make it operational, but that piece of equipment still is not installed, and we're holding this project open until we can finish that one piece of equipment that's still outstanding. After that, we'll be able to close the project out. The fifth one is the Class A biosolids. That one is at a 30-ish% design. The design builder, also Kiewit, is working on their cost model, and we're reviewing back and forth the different options to see what's the best path forward to the installation of that or project, or Class A solar project. So that's all of the ongoing projects under construction. And I'm going to reduce that group, and we can then focus on this second block of projects that are closing out this year. So these are projects from last fiscal year, mostly buckets. If you can see here, COC 23 is the order control bucket, pump station, minor modifications, manhole rehabilitation, and so on. So all of these are buckets that are active for a fiscal year and then they close the following fiscal year. So this is where we track the closeout process. And this big list here is a summary of the next 5 years of rehabilitation, maintenance, and repair buckets by groups. The first group is the auto control. You can see here. Second group is the pump station auto control, pump station maintenance and repair and rehabilitation buckets. They're followed by the utility minor modification bucket, which this is kind of a placeholder for ADOT, Pima County DOT, City of Tucson DOT, any jurisdiction that has an ongoing project where there's a sewer modification or realignment, for example, involved. This is where it gets funded from. The next group is the manhole rehabilitation. And we're followed by the pipeline rehabilitation, this group here. And finally, the treatment rehabilitation program, which is the very last one. These are all the same amounts for every year. We try to make a steady progress on maintaining, rehabilitating, and fixing issues with the different systems in the department. This group here are foreseen rehabilitation that are basically out in the out years. As we do CCTV inspections, they find issues as they go and TV the lines. They identify those and they package them by interceptor. So we're in the process of constantly TVing those interceptors, and as they find things, we want to have some money set aside for any bigger repairs that we have to do in interceptors. So these are placeholders in future years for rehabilitation of interceptors as the CCTV may find issues as they go out and TV the system. Then the very last group are future projects. We have the very first one here is Building 14, Central Operation and Renovation. This is a consolidation of the operation personnel for the Terrestrials facility. Right now, they're scattered through the plant in different offices and areas. And ideally, we're putting them all together in one location so they can interact, have the benefit of having their experience shared with everybody. So trying to get everybody in one place so they can be managed more efficiently. The second one is the digester facility. This one is intended to be, we currently have 2 new digesters that were placed by RUMP, and it had 2 additional sites that were not installed, but all the infrastructure was left in place for future expansion. And we're at that point where the capacity of the digesters and the ease of maintenance is hampered by the amount of sludge we have to treat. So it is time for us to start planning for this 3rd digester of the 4 flex arrangements that we have foreseen originally in the RUMP program. So this will be digester number 3, and there will be a 4th space, vacant space available for down the road when we need a 4th digester. So this one here is intended to be the 3rd digester at the Terrestrials facility of the new RUMP group of digesters. The next one is Prudent Pump Station Relief Sewer. This one had a hiccup in the sense that the alignment was too close to a landfill that turned out to be a hazardous waste site. So we were not able to install the sewer line, and we had to kind of tweak our approach and go back to the pump station and make some rehabilitation in order to make it. Basically, we're going to have to keep it. And we're doing some rehabilitation under this project to make sure that we can continue to operate that pump station, since we cannot decommission it as we were intending originally. Building 4 primary clarifiers. This is rehabilitation of the existing primary clarifiers in Terrestrials. This is the older primaries of the plant. The equipment is, as time progresses, and these were not addressed during law, the equipment is come to the end of their useful life, and it's time for us to then go in there, either remove and replace all those chains and flights and equipment that's in the clarifier system, or if it's more economical to basically build a new clarifier next to it and decommission the old one. So this project will address that future repair rehabilitation program. The next two together are the Sahuarita Wastewater Treatment Facility projects. We have the first one here is the interceptor that will take water from Green Valley to the new location of the treatment plant. And the second one is the treatment plant itself, 8 MGDs of treatment capacity in Sahuarita. And we're currently working with the town of Sahuarita to see how we share the cost, what is the appropriate percentage of ownership or operational costs that we each can assume based on our current and forecasted flows. This next one is the emergency backup power. We received a grant from, I believe it was Pima. Originally, we were going after the Corps, but it got complicated. Pima or emergency management was able to provide us with a grant that basically covered the whole project, $5 million. So we have to upfront the cost of the installation, the purchase and installation of the 2 generators that are going to be placed in Tres Rios, and the grant will reimburse us for those expenses after the fact. So this here is funding that project, which eventually will get reimbursed for it. And the very last one is the University of Arizona Tech Park way east in the Vail area. They're developing a big plot of land for future development, commercial. The university itself has some facilities there, and their connection to the Southeast Interceptor was an 8-inch line. We saw that as an opportunity to expand our interceptor system way going east on the Vail area. So we're partnering with them. We'll upsize, or they will upsize for us, their sewer line that's being planned for this development, and we'll fund for that upsize of the sewer line so it can serve further development to the east. And those are all the projects that we have on the books right now. And if you have any questions in any of them, I'll open this all up again so you can see all the projects.
Okay. Thank you, Jaime, for that presentation. Are there any questions? Scott, you've got a question?
Yeah, just Jaime, 26, 27, 27, 28. So the reason it jumps in the overall is because of the Sarita wastewater. Is that when we're planning on starting work on that?
That's correct. So we're currently working with the town of Sahuarita and IGA to determine how we split the cost of the facility itself. Once that IGA is in place, we'll basically fund our percentage and they will fund theirs. This is an estimate of our percentage of that cost. The project itself, because of timing, is scheduled to start procuring the management and planning side starting this new fiscal year, starting in July. And once the program manager and project manager are on board, they'll then move into the selection of a design builder, which is the group that's actually going to put all the documents in place for the design and actual construction of that facility when the time comes. So we're kind of ramping up starting next fiscal year with the planning portion of it. And at the end of the next fiscal year, beginning of the following, we'll start spending basically the design portion of our budget to get the documents to go then into construction. So that is kind of ramping up with a peak on the 26, 27, 27, 28, and then kind of ramping back down as it's complete.
Thank you.
Actually, sorry, Jaime, I had to step away just for a second because but so if I heard when I jumped back in, you said this is an estimate of Pima County's cost, correct? For the plant.
166 is an estimate of the completed facility based on a certain dollars per gallon. So that's our guesstimate, planning estimate right now. And as we get closer to the design and construction cost models and such, we'll get a better number. From this amount, a portion will be funded by the town of Sahuarita and a portion will be funded by us.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I had stepped away. Okay.
But the worst case scenario, we're going at it alone. So this number represents the whole amount.
Okay, all right. Other questions for Jaime? Okay, can you scroll back up to the top? And I know I've asked you this before, probably in January, the Canoa Ranch sewer extension. When we originally saw that project, there was the campground, there was all kinds of stuff at Canoa Ranch. Has that changed now? I can't remember what you said or is that all that's still going in?
So the campground itself is an NRPR project. I believe they're on hold because they're for funding reasons, I'm assuming, and their connection was thought to be to our sewer line if it stayed on the east side because of the Canoa Ranch land conservation problems and a lot of costs related to permitting and cultural resources and ADOT itself. We ended up moving the alignment to the west side of I-19. At that point, the Canoa Ranch connection became problematic because they would have to bore under I-19 to connect to the future location of this planned sewer line.
Okay, so anything that happens there, they won't be connecting then. So that would have I just haven't seen any recent plans on what's happening at Canoa, but it sounds like because of the moving the line that some of that's probably not going to happen then.
It would be unlikely unless they can find a way either to put a pump station and head north. Yeah, we do cross I-19 farther north. We would have to chase it and discharge to that location.
Yep. Okay. Great. Other questions for Jaime? Great. So I think I did ask this before, but with if you scroll back down to the bottom, with all the funding and resources going to the Sahuarita plant, are we still having enough funds and people and resources to continue any of the capital improvement projects, additional projects that we would need to do in 26, 27, 27, 28? Because we've got, I know at one time Jackson had said you guys were aiming for what, about 30 to 50 million per year of capital improvement, and up in 27, 28, 29, we're really dominated by the Sahuarita facility. Is that going to delay some of the other capital improvement projects that we need to do in the future?
The intent is to, for the Sahuarita treatment facility and the interconnect that's connecting the Green Valley and the future Sahuarita site, those two projects are intended to be run by a program manager consultant and a project manager consultant. So we're depending on a consultant to supplement our in-house group to manage those projects and help us deliver them. The balance of the projects we can handle in-house within the county, but those two in particular, because of the complexity and the need to be basically day in and day out present in that construction site and keeping an eye on things. We're relying on consultants to help us deliver the program as a whole, those two projects, and each individual project with a project manager consultant.
Thank you. All right. I'm not seeing any other hands. Any other questions? All right. Thank you then. Appreciate it. It's good to get an update and see what's coming up. All right. Yep, let's move then to the Pima County Integrated Infrastructure Plan. And Martin Clow is going to give us that presentation.
Hi, good morning. I will share my screen. So maybe just a little background, and I'm not sure if this was presented 2 years ago or not, but the county has created the integrated infrastructure plan to support the county and identify needs of growth, needs of improvement as a budgeting and planning tool for the county as a whole, including a lot of the public works departments as well as all the other departments providing services. We've been doing this. The last update was in 23, so it was 23, 24 years, so it was 2 years ago. We're looking at moving forward, probably going every year on this, as it's a very dynamic process. As we thought, every 2 years there's a lot of change in there that it probably makes more sense to go year by year and do an update. So as you can see on the screen here, this is the newest version. It's at the county administrator's desk, ready to issue, pending any final comments. And I'll just kind of proceed at a high level. Stop me if you have any questions, but it's kind of it's broken down into kind of two key areas. There's really an introduction that talks about its purpose, how it's put together, what its intent is for, and then kind of after that, there's each of the departments within the county. I shouldn't say each department, but most of the departments, all the public works departments, and then a few other non-public works departments have a section where each one of them talks about their projects, and I'll get into that in a little bit more as we go. So kind of just an overview of the introduction. It talks about, as I said previously, the importance of the plan, the need for the plan, how that plan aligns with a few other key documents within the county, those being the Pima Prospers plan, the SAPCO plan for sustainability action plan, as well as a few others. Talks about how it addresses infrastructure needs and the need to deal with growth throughout the county as Pima Prospers identifies areas of growth. I'll just kind of move slowly through this. It talks about our current inventory of assets, so it gives an update on total value of the county's assets, and it's kind of broken down in a few areas. I'll zoom in a little bit. I apologize if that's small. Buildings, kind of miscellaneous improvements, lots of, sites, flood control facilities, infrastructure, land, right-of-way easements, and then down at the bottom, you can see the wastewater and sewer infrastructure, which is quite a large, actually the highest percentage of all the county's assets. And it talks about maintenance as well, and the importance of a lot of the projects on the list are maintenance related projects and preventative maintenance, I would say, for the departments that are, I would say, trying to stay ahead of things. Some departments haven't done as well due to various factors, probably mainly funding, and have quite a bit of deferred maintenance in their plans. So you'll see that as well. And then it gets into a little bit more detail on integrated infrastructure. Oops, I went to the end. I apologize. Infrastructure plan there. And the next section is kind of an overview by department or area. So you can see transportation, regional, wastewater reclamation. You get into most of public works, but there's a few others that are a little bit unique, like economic development is one, attractions and tourism is another. And you'll see a few elected officials in there, like the sheriff's department and facilities management, which is the bulk of the buildings. Project design and construction, which is kind of a catch-all for some of the elected officials that don't have really a project management resource or have really small needs, don't have in other words, don't have a 10-year, 5-year or 10-year integrated infrastructure plan need. So they kind of fall into these categories. After that, it gets into each department specifically. So you can see their total project cost for the 10-year, how many projects, how many are funded, unfunded, and the percent of the projects unfunded. So you can see the kind of an indicator here. So the intent of the integrated infrastructure plan is to show typically projects that are not currently underway. So they're currently not in either design or construction phase at all. And most of them are unfunded. There are a few outliers as some departments develop their 5-year plan and put projects in there that are funded. There's a section on prioritization. So I believe there's 6 criteria here. So it talks about safety, security, depreciation of assets, return on investment. So evaluating projects' needs and the benefit to recoup costs and save money down the road, environmental protection, economic development, and level of service, improvement of service. One of the pieces I didn't mention in the introduction, it talks about it does not get into the economic climate so much from a funding perspective as more so from a construction and project cost perspective. So over the last, kind of post-COVID, we've seen a spike in design and construction costs. It talks a little bit about that and how that we've seen that level off a bit, but not costs have not reduced or come back down to the pre-COVID levels. So some of that is impacted in quite a few of the departments' ability to fund projects. They're having to reduce the number of projects to get them funded. The next section, which is the largest, is the department. So from here, each one of the departments that's within the plan is listed, and each one has their own section. So transportation is first. They're all structured the same way, talking about who the department is, just a bit of a background, the services they provide, their own prioritization criteria. If they have any kind of different needs, they're all unique in their own way. So they've developed their own prioritization criteria, kind of based off of the one set up for the entire plan previously that I mentioned. Then it gets into their priority projects, those costs, and then any limitations. And then kind of a snapshot up at the top here is kind of just what their current infrastructure includes. And then as many, their priority projects. So these range from a couple to up to 10, I think is where we've capped it, and the general years that you're seeing. And so I think, and then after that, it goes into a spreadsheet that shows that 10-year plan with the project name and then the funding for each year with total for the project and then total by year. And then the follow in the right corner is the total cost of that 10-year plan by department. So, going into the regional wastewater reclamation department, you could see there as they're listing their top 10 projects here. The Trace Rios digester, which was just talked about previously. And then some of these projects, as you can see, are kind of their maintenance and rehabilitation projects that are listed. So they go all the way out to the full 10-year plan. One nuance you will see, and this is a good example with RWRD, is that they have a 5-year plan that Jaime was just showing you. Is we didn't want to include those costs in here because those projects are in the current budget. So if we show them in here, there was concern that people would see the numbers twice and we'd be double dipping on costs. So the projects are there. You can see as they're listed, they tier off as they get within the first 4 years of this plan and then the next year's plan budget. So those are the 5 years shown. And we've indicated that with it's kind of an asterisk here, just saying that the 10-year and 5-year projects reflected in the current adopted budget are not within the 10-year plan. So there's a little bit of a nuance there. We're working on some clarity of that as we move forward. So you can see all the projects, and then you can see the total for the 10-year minus those 5-year projects. And it goes through each of the departments. I don't think I'll go through each one, but I'll just kind of click through so you can see flood control district, parks and recreation, or conservation lands and resources department, which is a new department that broke out from NRPR and merged with the sustainability and conservation office. Economic development, project design and construction, the health department, Pima animal care, stadium district, attractions and tourism, sheriff's department, the libraries, community and workforce development, IT, and facilities management. I believe that's kind of a high level overview. I'm available to answer any questions if anybody has any specific questions on it.
Great. Do we have any questions? Thank you for that presentation. Actually, I have a question because I am kind of confused by the spreadsheet that's in the document versus the spreadsheet Jaime just showed us. But actually, Asia just raised her hand. So let's take your question first.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I guess I have a couple questions. One is probably along the lines of where Anne-Marie was going. The other question maybe is what I'll put now. If you had any general thoughts about obviously the purpose of this type of a plan, right? It pulls everything together. And I was wondering if you see any sort of crossover issues or things where like the Canoa Ranch and on RPR where wastewater and other departments might have projects that are somewhat dependent on each other.
Yeah, the document is very useful for that. You know, as large as we are as a county and the many projects that are going on, I would like to say we have good communication between departments and they coordinate. It is an opportunity for somebody to catch something that might be missed. And so you're right, there's a Canoa campground project that's on right now, but they have a challenge with their sewer getting that connected. So, and that's all plays into, you know, the projects that Jaime's working on right now. And does it make sense to defer that project and wait? And those decisions have to be made. And it is a tool that can be used for that. That's a great example. We see a lot of times also on the facilities management side, whereas they're looking to do improvements on buildings and departments are planning to maybe do an expansion or relocate. Are we spending money on a facility that we might potentially be vacating, renovating? Where does it make sense to use that funding, especially as everybody, I mean, look at the total cost of this plan, it's a bit scary, and we know the county can't fund the entire thing. Michelle Malinsky's on the call. She will definitely back me up on that one. So as everybody's sticking a straw into the bucket or the small glass of funding, how do we prioritize that funding? Where does it go and what makes the most sense? And I think that this is definitely a tool to support that. Where is the county growing? Where we see the greatest need? I know from my background and working in FM previously, we saw a lot of deferred maintenance with the buildings because there's just too much maintenance going on, a lot of older infrastructure. And how do we prioritize that based on how departments are growing, how the county is growing, where the greatest need of service is at the time?
So Asia, did you have another question? If you did, go ahead. Maybe Asia.
My other question was maybe if you could kind of re-explain that what you were talking about with the 5-year plan for wastewater not being included. I think I got it, but I thought it was kind of important and I might not quite get it. So maybe Anne-Marie, if yours was related to that, you can ask your question.
So we had I will admit there was an area of confusion. It was a little bit challenging for the county because some departments fund their projects ahead where they have predictable funding sources in the mostly enterprise departments, unlike other departments that cannot predict out even year after year what their funding will be. So those departments, transportation is one, flood control another one, and RWRD, those are the 3 big ones we had. But they have 5-year infrastructure plans created. They fund the projects and they put them in our system. And so those go into the budget. And so since the bulk of these projects, the intent of this is to show future projects for planning, they hold those projects off. So what we're afraid of is somebody would see, for example, oops, I did it again, I'm sorry. They would see, for example, and then I think wastewater is the good, they would see a number on a year here, for example, at the bottom. And they would have funding, but then they would also see what was currently adopted in the budget, and they would be doubling up that number. And so we didn't want people to be looking at, this document is intended to be looking at the budget, the five-year integrated infrastructure plan, which is the current budget, and the 10-year together. And so we didn't want people seeing those separate and seeing a funding shortfall.
So
I'm not
Scott,
sure if that makes sense to you or not. And Jaime, you might be able to explain a little bit better on yours, your project specifically.
I guess because we're enterprise funded and you all are looking at the 5-year program and noting that that's a good way to go. Our funding is accounting for that 5-year. Beyond the 5-year, that's planning, and we're not budgeting for it. So this is intended to show projects that are not in the program because it's too far out. We cannot see that we need a particular need 30 beyond the 5-year program. So if you cut and paste the 5-year program here, you'll see the whole thing. But because the 5-year program that we're just reviewing is basically our path forward, and we're funding it, we're committed to fund that series of projects and rehabilitation and repairs. They're solid. They are program. Where this is planning. I guess you can draw the line between the program and we're going to do them, and the planning we think we might need it in the future, but we're not sure.
And you can see those right here. This is our way of trying to draw attention to that and make sure it wasn't a missed item. It was identified, and we're making sure it's clear that people realize that these projects are included in the fiscal year budget. And so we did not include them in here.
so Scott, did you have a question?
Yes, going back to our last monthly meeting, repurposing the Roger Road closed facility. I know everything is totally up in the air, just seeing ideas that stick on the wall and all that. But the one thing that I saw, I think that it will be almost a guarantee, is we're going to have to do a bridge going from the Roger facility over the river to the, the Christopher Columbus Park or something like that on Silverville. That sounds like it's almost a given. Shouldn't we be kind of sticking that bridge project in there somewhere with whatever department?
I think it's flood control who's funding that bridge, if I'm not mistaken. So if it's a done deal, it will be in their 5-year program. It won't show up here because this is planning, but it will be in their 5-year, we're going to do this type of program, which they carry in a similar way we do.
Do they already have it in their 5-year right now?
I don't know, not sure. It sounded like it was something that was aimed to be done soon.
Craig, did you have a comment
Thank
or
you.
question?
Yeah, just to kind of pull off what the discussion before, as far as, the planning document, being able to see across the different departments if there's any kind of way of, saving money. Has there ever been a consideration to say, looking at what the city's doing, like in their streets, right? Because if you had to do stuff that's planned for sewers, sewer upgrades, or what it may be, and the city's already doing a street, there may be a way of saving, doing it at the same time if the timing works out for the project. So I was just curious if that's something that is considered.
Yeah, so we meet monthly with the Pima County DOT group, and they give us a heads up of their next round of, for example, overlays and such. And then we'll go back to our backlog of repairs, and we'll go and make sure that we do those repairs before they go in there and do their pavement restoration. So we have that tight coordination with our county DOT. In the city, we're almost doing the same thing. They hold a monthly utility coordination meeting, and we kind of gather all the information of what their next areas of repair are going to be, and we try to coordinate with them so we can kind of be ahead of their pavement crews and do any repairs we have to do. And same thing with pipe replacement. If we have to do point repairs or any type of excavation, we always try to beat the asphalt being put in there, because once it's in, it's very expensive. It's not impossible to do those open cut repairs.
Hey, Craig, a good example of that was when the city put in the streetcar. You know, we went ahead and made sure all of our sewer projects on that route were dealt with ahead of time, because we knew it would be expensive and problematic to go in there shortly thereafter. So that's a good example right there, that one.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you. You pretty much answered my question about I was the same with Asia, that I thought I understood what you were talking about, but at first it's just when I was looking at it, especially since the costs for the Sarita plant weren't really in there, but that they're included already in the budget. But looking at this, and I look at the bottom line amount, it doesn't look like in the 10 years and after 29 to beyond that we're anticipating any other major construction. That's basically correct?
That is correct. If you see our 5-year program, we identify rehabilitation and repairs basically within that 5-year window. So as we move into the next 5 years, once we roll over in the new fiscal year, we'll start planning for, okay, what's that last 5th year going to look like? And we need to do or start planning for the 4th digester, or we need to start placing projects out there that we know we're going to need at some point. So we're focusing really hard on this 5-year block, and then the next 5 years, we know we're going to have to do rehab and repair, so we put those in there. But specific, solid, big projects, we are not looking that far out beyond the 5-year window.
So does that mean you think there might be some other big projects coming up or not yet?
There are. So I'm pretty sure that once we start rolling into those future years, those numbers will start pouring back into the 50s, depending on what, for example, CCTV may find a big area of interceptor that needs repair. Well, there's $5 or $6 million that we need to then throw in there and place it in the program. So as those things continually pop up during our review and inspection of the system, we start populating it. Same with treatment. If they find a system in Tres Rios or Agua Nueva or one of the other facilities that need rehabilitation and it's a few $1 million, then we'll start placing those projects that are identified into our 5-year window of project that we need to plan for.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Do I hear someone? No. All right. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was, okay.
You're welcome. And I would say that it's, as I said, it's at the county administrator's office right now. Once they will issue it to the Board of Supervisors, I think via memo, and then it'll get published on various links on various websites available for public viewing.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Lots of good things today. The Comprehensive County Plan Update. Mirella.
Hi, good morning. Let me share my screen right.
I think we just lost Morella.
Yeah,
Hold
that's
on
what
just a moment.
All of a sudden, I'm not hearing anything, although I still see her.
I think she's
Sorry,
back on.
I'm sorry. Instead of sharing the screen, I pushed the wrong button and to leave the presentation. I apologize. Let me start again. Okay. Can everyone see my presentation here?
Yes.
Okay, let me set it up. All right. So good morning, everyone. I'm Mirella, and I'm a planner here with the Technical Services and Engineering. Today's presentation is going to be on Pima County prosperous growth areas and sewer service area expansion. Let me go to the next slide. So for today's agenda, I'm going to be reviewing some updates on the Pima Prosper growth areas. As you know, comprehensive plan is currently underway. The update to the 2025 update, the staff is currently working on updating goals and policies that will guide future growth and development in an unincorporated county. And they're also going to be updating some land use plans and maps. So the focus of this presentation is going to be on growth areas, and we're going to take a closer look at new development location and how the sewer service expansion we anticipate that will accommodate growth and future development in the county. So currently, Pima maps 2015 growth area maps shows only 3 growth areas. These are Flowing Wells Southwest and area around Tucson International Airport and I-10. Growth areas are also called focused development investment areas in Pima Prospers, and state statutes require planning for growth areas that are suitable for multimodal transportation and infrastructure expansion and improvements designed to support concentration of a variety of uses. In addition to these 3 growth areas, county also plan to add additional few areas that county projected greatest population growth. These are Benson Highway, Fairgrounds, town of Ajo, and 7 census designated places listed on the presentation. You can see Green Valley, Casas Adobes, Corona, Vale, Rincon Valley, Drexel, and Valencia West. When establishing growth areas, planners usually use data on infrastructure capacity, employment, and development trends. That we go and pick the development patterns that can accommodate anticipated population growth. So the reason behind these growth areas are because they already have infrastructure in place. And I can just move on to, we will look into individual growth areas and specific location of new development. So you can see the first growth area is Southwest growth areas. This is a Abra Valley service area that we have a sub-regional facility there. The area, you can see the purple polygons are current sewer service area. Current new development is mostly along the Valencia Road and Ajo Highway. There is also new development in Star Valley. This is the balance of existing Star Valley residential development. Also, 2 prominent developments are Wildflower and Sendero del Sol, previously called Sendero Pass. These are specific plan areas that can bring over 5,000 units to the region, including other supporting services and land uses. For each development or growth area, I have put together the table below where show more details for each development for your reference. It is also important to say that Drexel Heights is designated as a new growth area. As you can see, there is currently no sewer service to this area. most likely developer-driven funding to provide services will be needed, mostly now septic users. County also provides sewer services to Pasquayaki tribe. We have a service agreement with the tribe to provide services to the land. Also, Ryan Airfield is another potential. They plan for expansion of their services and operation, which will expand the economic base and support economic base in the region. Few years back, the three developments get together to build a new interceptor line that will support services for Wildflower, Sandera, and Ryan. So moving forward to the next growth area, this growth area generally encompass area around Tucson International Airport, expanding north to and along I-10 and Benson Highway. And there is also includes portion of Southlands. I will talk more about the Southlands in the next slideshow. As you can see, we have a well-established service along I-10 and the Benson Highway. Benson Highway corridor was also recognized as a potential growth area in the 2025 Pima Prospers. Tucson International Airport has some plans to do expansion of their services just west of Alvernon. Major interceptor lines were built just recently. These are in Oldville Connection Road called Airspace Corridor interceptor line. This line will provide services to all development along the Airspace Corridor. You probably heard of New American Battery Company that is moving in, and I believe the development is currently under construction. This is a big economic development for the county. Currently or recently completed Old Nogales Highway Interceptor will also provide additional capacity to Raytheon and, like I said, the TIA expansion. To the south, we have Verano Section 10. This is residential development of approximately 2,000 units. Currently under design is their offsite sewer. They're tying to Airspace Corridor Interceptor, and there is some potential for other development on South Wilmot land investors. They, I believe, also residential, but there is also other potential uses planned for this area. So this is a service area expansion because of these new development. To the north, we have a U of A Tech Park. Jaime already mentioned that U of A Tech Park plans for capacity or, a park expansion with new development.
Did we lose her again? Let's see. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. Did we lose Morella again? Are you there?
Yes. What, did I get disconnected or something?
Maybe it was just me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can everyone hear me now, or?
I think it was
Hello?
just it was just a software update type of thing.
So
The last thing we heard was
Everybody
the
hear
U of A
us?
Tech Park.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
We can hear you, Marilla.
Yep.
We
Oh,
stopped
okay,
listening-
okay.
hearing you after at the U of A Park present slide.
Okay, so the U of A Park. All right. So the next slide. I'm here on at the Southlands. Can you see my screen here? Yeah. So the Southlands. The Southlands has large tracts of state land just east of Wilmot Road and south of I-10. as you can see, there is not much infrastructure available, and master planning will be required. Currently under review is a plan amendment for Rincon Southeast Sub-Regional Plan by the City of Tucson. The city plans to make some changes to the land uses to increase urban densities, to allow more development and attract new development in this area. So this area around the fairground has a potential for more development. You're probably familiar with the SALC, which is the Southeast Employment and Logistics Center on Pima County Fairgrounds. This is the major economic development project. Currently, county is working on rezoning of this area before doing any infrastructure planning. Moving to the north of I-10, we see H2K recently rezoned a City of Tucson property. I mean, the property is state land, but within the City of Tucson boundaries. That would probably bring some industrial uses. And as mentioned before by Jaime, we are working on the U of A Park consultant to, design a sewer that is big enough to accommodate growth that is anticipated in H2K and other state land along the I-10. Let me see what else. So to the far southeast, you will see Vale Crossings. This is the residential development. They're going to be building or constructing new gravity line 4 miles length to provide services to this new development. That is also anticipated new service area expansion area. And that would be all for that growth area. Also, Rincon Valley is another growth area identified in the Pima Prospers. You're familiar with Rocking K development is currently underway with the remaining blocks under construction. Another big development, also land was currently rezoned, is Atterbury Trails. Over 12,000 units of development will happen in the next 20-25 years. This area is serviced by Pantano Interceptor and Southeast Interceptor. Currently, we have meters set up to monitor flows in Rocking K, and we anticipate our modeling group will do some evaluation on capacity to establish triggers and timeline for augmentation that is anticipated in the downstream section of SUR and on PTI. Other smaller developments are planned. You can see the orange polygons indicate each new development area. These are connecting to PTI, Pantano Interceptor. Let's see next. And another growth area is around the Corona, the Tucson. We have new development or balanced development on Sycamore Canyon 2. In addition to this, there are 2 new developments that we received requests for capacity. They are Ocotillo Ridge and Pagan Ranch. In order to provide service, because their impact is going to be really big on the sewer system, these 2 developers will need to provide some augmentation on the 12-inch line in the downstream system where we have a bottleneck. Other development is on new Tucson unit. There is several other subdivisions that are still under construction or will be under construction in the next years. So Green Valley, Green Valley service area, we have Quail Creek and Mandera Highlands. These are developments on the east side of I-19, currently under construction and allocated capacity. On the west side of I-19, as Jaime mentioned, Canoa Ranch and Canoa Ranch new interceptor line will provide service to the remaining blocks of Canoa. Design will also allow connection of RWRAC Junction to this line. That would be it for Green Valley. And finally, moving to the northwest, this is a massive specific plan development on Cascada. As you can see, close to 4,000 new development units. Offsite sewer was built a long time ago, but not until recently, developer decided to move forward and sell different phases of development to DR Horton and other entities. Capacity is currently available in the line that they constructed, developer constructed. This is a 12 and 15 inch line along the I-10. Other development that is under construction is the remaining Marana Center blocks and Linda Vista Villages residential developments. To the east, we have Twin Peaks developments. As you recall, a county constructed 15-inch gravity line to provide sewer service to this development area. At the same time, this allowed Tangerine Pump Station to be closed down, and everything now connecting to this sewer line is, we are charging developers surcharge fees to compensate for the construction of this line by the county. And let's see. And that, I believe, was my last slide. If you have any questions, I try to squeeze this in within 10 minutes, but just probably more. Yeah.
Thank you. So Scott, you've got a question? Scott, we can't hear you, so unmute.
Okay. On the northwest, Marana, you're showing a new development there called Cascada. I'm not aware of that. I've been seeing the dramatic growth around the Marana Center and other areas. How large of an area are they planning, and how many? I assume that's residential and all that. How large is that planning on being?
Yeah, so Cascada is everything, the whole yellow polygon. Previously, it was consisted of two specific areas, Cascada North. Now they're consolidating one development called Cascada 2. And from the table down, you can see that they plan for over 3,800 units in different phases, with commercial development around the Twin Peaks and, where the Marana Center is. I believe this is where they're gonna have a commercial and other supporting, land uses to residential development. They will be doing this in phases, I believe 4 phases. Before that, they will need to sell each phase to different developers. And we are currently in the discussion with the consultant working on service agreement for this whole area.
Okay, and then I don't know if this is, I don't know who wants to take this question, but with these exponential growth that we're going through, no matter where in the county, but this one also in particular, are we going to be able to handle the extra flow that's going to be coming into our facility. I assume it would be going to the Trace Rios facility.
Yes,
or-
mhm.
Go ahead.
Yes, we have a preliminary analysis, preliminary study done. Currently, capacity is available. We have some meters set up at the where the interceptor line is crossing the Santa Cruz River. Previously, we had some concerns about bottlenecks, but meters show that flow is still very low, even with additional units going to the system. So yes, this is a Continental Ranch pump station that was recently upgraded to provide additional capacity. So if you know, it would be developers' responsibility for any bottlenecks that occur along the 12 and 15-inch line here, and they're aware of that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Sure.
Any other questions for Mirella? Oh, thank you very much. That was actually very educational. I mean, it's to look at where the growth is and how that's going to affect the capacity of the system. So I was especially amazed to see the potentially 20,000 new residential units out in the Rincon Valley Bell area. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments, Mirella? Anything? Okay. Well, if there's no more questions for her, then let's move on to our next agenda item, which is our schedule. And traditionally, we now won't have a meeting until December, January timeframe. So when we review the capital improvement projects for the budget, for the next fiscal year budget. So honestly, I don't remember. I think we usually just say that we'll have it in that December timeframe because we want to get it to the full committee so we can so we can review and support the projects. So any comments on the timeframe, Jeanette, for our next meeting?
Let me pull up previous year. In 23, we had the meeting January and July. In 22, we had it January and May. So January seems to be about common for our next meeting, December, January.
Yeah.
So I can send a doodle around then and give you some potential dates.
Does that sound good for everybody? Everybody's okay with that? Yeah. Yeah, I think as long as we get it in January.
Scott Oldendorf's got no big trips on the agenda, so I'm open.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Yeah, as long as we get it in January. I think February is a little late. So I think in some years we've even had it in December, but with the holidays, that's often difficult. So let's, if you can send out that poll December.
Will do.
January, that'd be great. Okay. All right. So future agenda items, we had a great schedule today. I mean, our next meeting, we pretty much just focus on reviewing and looking at detailed about the capital improvement projects, but is there any other future agenda item that anyone would like to include? All right, so then we'll just stick with what we usually do for that December, January meeting. So a call to the audience. Is there anyone that would like to address the committee? Okay. So I thought it was a very, Asia, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say thanks very much, Anne-Marie, for chairing the meeting and stepping up very short notice on that.
Oh, no problem at all. Okay. I actually thought it was a really interesting meeting. We got a lot of really good information today, so I appreciate everybody who presented. So, all right, any other thoughts or anything? Okay. Well then, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn, Scott Oldendorf.
And
second, Asia.
Okay, I guess I guess technically we don't have to vote on adjournment, but so we're adjourned. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.